the words of "Get ready, please" here in the Hambleden Pairs Challenge Cup. This is the elite women's coxless pairs events between the Kracklauer sisters of Germany on the left-hand side of your picture and Lindberg and Witt of the University of London and Imperial College on the right-hand side of your picture.
We're back with this wonderful women's pairs event, and really impressive German pair here who are going to want to try and take it out, see if they can get themselves through this heat. They are really experienced at under 23 level, and they are sisters. So we have Anna Kracklauer and Chiara Kracklauer, and a warm welcome to family and friends watching from Germany who will be cheering them on. But it is not going to be straightforward because Lindberg and Witt have had a great start, really rowing very clean there. I think coached by Tom Gale will be thinking, right, we need to make sure we are out and putting pressure on that German crew. Very impressive. They've already been at GB trials this year, so they've had some time together. And they are at the moment leading the German crew as they come away from the island.
Still tense moments though here in the opening stages, but as we move down the course it looks like Lindberg and Witt just looking to stamp their authority a little bit more on this Hambleden Pairs Challenge Cup event. And this crew are sort of crew that's progressing up through the rankings. You've already talked about Elizabeth Witt as the stroke of the under-23 World Championship crew in the women's 8 back in 2022 that won silver, and joined by another under-23 talent, Emily Lindberg from the University of London, who again, you know, has had a stellar university career, winning many an event and going to the under-23 championships, but soon to be calling time on her university career, having finished her medical degree alongside rowing, which I can never fathom, Kath, how you can have time to train to be a doctor, you know, doing medicine at university whilst also training twice, 3 times a day, 6 days a week.
I don't know either, and I'm no medic, but we certainly have a lot of medics in our sport, from Anne Redgrave through to Imogen Grant, so it certainly doesn't hold you back and maybe gives you a secret additional ingredient. But yeah, maybe she'll think again, who knows, because this pair of Emily and Elizabeth, they won the championship women's pair at Bucks Regatta and at Henley Women's Regatta, so you know, they've been really building through the season and they're used to this water and they're enjoying it out there and putting a lot of pressure on Anna and Chiara.
Now you can see the 2 different racing strips here. We've got in the stroke seat, furthest away from us, Imperial College London, and on the nearest side we've got the University of London. 2 universities that row in London as separate clubs, but at either ends of the championship course, the Tideway, the boat race course as you'd probably know it as, Kath.
That's right, but I mean they're all on the Tideway, so I think there's a sort of Tideway community, isn't there? And certainly when you're finding pairs, partners, finding someone at a similar level, and they'll have kind of met each other on the circuit, as it were, at trials, at all sort of different scenarios, and worked out that this pair goes well together, and they're very well matched, both long, tall athletes, so there's a real kind of range in here that they're making sure they get those arms straight, leading away, so they can really lever the boat, and that's what we're seeing there. They're just levering each stroke a little further away from the Germans, who are at a slightly higher rate, fighting a little harder to try and get back on terms there, but the stroke is a little bit shorter, and they're looking a little bit less stable, particularly around the catch, so the part where the oars drop in. They're just missing a little bit of length, perhaps because of the instability of the water, so they're not able to then lever quite as effectively, get quite as much length as we can see. A little bit awkward, some of the leaning there as well, almost, and just perhaps finding it hard to get themselves stable on this water.
Yeah, the Germans here, the Kracklauers, both part of the under-23 sort of 8 system within Germany, and going from an 8 to a pair is both sweet disciplines, both just 1 blade rather than 2, but you've gone from something that is much longer and much wider into the smallest boat type you can get in this discipline.
It is very different. Yeah, you're very exposed. You're the only person on your side. You're absolutely dependent on your pair's partner. So, you know, the reliance, the need to depend on each other, which you can see working beautifully here with Emily and Elizabeth. Great back shot. You can see that balance. You can see that they each go the same. They swing out around their oars the same each side. Very good rhythm, very stable. And that's what you're trying to do, is create a stable platform for you then to work hard. You don't want to work hard in order to work hard, because then you've lost energy on something that isn't moving the boat forwards.
will it make the boat go faster, as some would say. And it was lovely, that back shot there, because we could see we could almost see, like, you could put a mirror down their back, right, and it would be from either side, and you can just see that one blade there on that side. Now, they look like they're overlapping almost from that shot.
That shot sums it up, doesn't it? You can actually take less strokes and go faster. That's the beauty, that's the alchemy that's required here. And they're so in control, so stable. And, you know, again, in between the strokes, they're not stopping the boat. And, you know, Anna and Chiara cannot fault their effort. They are working really, really hard. They are trying to work ever harder, and yet it's not quite paying off in boat speed terms. Lots of effort going in there. They're really not giving up. They are fighting every stroke, but they just haven't quite got the skill level. They're not able to get as effective. There's a danger, in fact, their steering isn't quite helping them either at this point, as they're coming a little too far, and they're going to feel the puddles from Emily and Elizabeth. So they just haven't been able to get on top of things in this race.
And I think in this boat type more than any, Kath, when it comes to steering, if one person just is a little bit off, or not quite putting as much pressure down, or not concentrating, because there's only one blade on either side, it can go wrong quite quickly.
It can be really hard, yeah, absolutely, to, you know, even if you're constantly adjusting and the boat's twitching, then actually, you know, the rudder doesn't make a lot of difference, because if you both, if it isn't going straight, then that's hard. So you also, of course, if the rudder's on, that's slowing you down. But they've absolutely kept putting the effort in all the way down. I'm sure Anna and Chiara will be learning lots about how you row a pair on Henley water.
Well, it's going to be the crew from Imperial College and the University of London, that composite of Emily Lindberg and Elizabeth Witt on your screen now, who reign victorious over the crew from 1866 ununterrupted Verein of Germany.